Well, we've got a great group of people on the call with us today, so welcome everyone. I'm Marilyn Wilson. I'm the president of RETechnology, and I'm really excited to present to you some really, I think, powerful and helpful information being brought to you today from DocuSign and Keller Williams. So we're going to be talking today about the idea that real estate is under siege, and what do we do to win that digital fight? Because there's, as many of you know, there's a lot of people that want to kind of do what you do and take the money away from you. So we're here to help you figure out ways to make sure that you stay in the center of that transaction and that you can maximize your business as much as you can. So let's get rolling. See if we can flip to the next slide, please. So first, before we get into it, I wanted to let everyone just get you a little clue here. So if you look at the blue box that's on the side of your GoToWebinar panel, you'll see a little section that says questions. And if you click on that little gray triangle, it will open it up. And so you can ask the participants any question that makes sense for you, and we will then answer those at the end of the session today. So feel free to jump in and ask any questions at any time during the meeting, but we'll answer them toward the end. So if you don't hear us responding, don't worry, we'll get to it, okay? So let's go to the next slide, and I'll introduce our panelists today. So again, I'm Marilyn Wilson. I'm the moderator today. We have DocuSign Representative Justin Anglin. He's the Senior Director of Industry Marketing and works a lot with brokerages and associations and MLSs and agents all over the industry and has a great background. So thank you. Welcome, Justin. And then we have Adi Pavlovich, who is the Director of Innovation at Keller Williams. Doesn't that sound like a fun job? I think everyone wants that job. He gets to do all the fun stuff and break the rules and take us to new places. So I'm sure he has lots of fun with that. So welcome to you guys. Thank you so much for attending today.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Marilyn.
you. So let's flip to the next slide. And before we begin, we're gonna ask each of you guys to answer 3 questions for us if you can. So feel free to jump in if we can open up that poll. So the first question is, what is your role? So if you can just tell us, are you a broker, owner, agent, technology, or administrator? That would be great. And then we'll show those results in just 1 second. So just click on any one of those little buttons and it'll fill it out for you. Okay, great. So we'll show the quick answer on that and we'll see who's on the call today. So we have 66% agents, 13% broker owners, 9% technologists, and 13% administrators. So thanks, guys. Let's go to the next question. So how many agents are part of the brokerage that you belong to? So if you can tell us, is it less than 10, 11 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to 250, or greater than 250? Just click on one of those, and we'll get a sense of who we've got on the call for that too. So we've got a good mix, actually. It looks like we've got about 29% that are from smaller brokerages with less than 10, 12% are from 11 to 50, 16% from 51 to 100, 16% from 101 to 250, and then about a quarter are from larger brokerages with more than 250 people. So thank you, good mix of people. Okay, one final question and then we'll jump in. So this is an interesting question, and it's kind of a hard one to answer, but it'd be helpful to hear what you guys have to say about this. So how digital is your office today? So, some offices are still using all paper files and paper folders, and that would probably put you in the not digital at all category. The next one is we use e-signatures, but we still use some paper. The third one is we're mostly digital, but systems are not integrated. So you may use, one form solution and one document management solution. And then the last one is we're fully digital and we're on one integrated platform. So we have a great mix on that too. There's very few that aren't doing anything digitally. So that's good. It makes life easier for you if you can do more on electronically. About 34% or thereabouts are using a-signature. So you figured out that can certainly make it a lot easier to get contracts and disclosures and things like that signed, which is great. 43% are mostly digital, but the systems are not integrated yet. And then 18% are fully digital and on one integrated platform. So that group there, the almost 20%, that's probably the easiest way to do these things. But it's great to hear that most people are doing something digitally at this point, and we're just going to maybe learn more about how to even take that to the next level. So thank you so much for hosting those. So I'm now going to turn it over to Justin Anglin, who's going to take us through a variety of slides, and then Justin and Adi are going to have a conversation about the way that Keller Williams anticipates the integration between. And Adi, when we get to you, maybe you can talk a little bit about the announcement that came out today, which is very exciting. So with that, Justin, I will turn it over to you, and you take it away.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Marilyn, and thank you, everybody, for joining Adi and Marilyn and myself on this important topic today. Quickly, I'll just do a little introduction of myself. So, as Marilyn mentioned, my name is Justin Anglin, and I lead our industry marketing team here at DocuSign. And what our team does, I feel really fortunate for the job that I get, is that we get to understand the strategic industries that DocuSign works with and understand some of the challenges and trends and pain points that folks like yourselves who work in those industries have. And our team really sits at that intersection between our product development teams and our customer-facing teams. And so we help our product development teams understand what some of those challenges are in those strategic industries like real estate, which is one of our most important industries at DocuSign. And then we also work with our customer-facing teams to help them understand those challenges and pain points and how DocuSign's technologies can help address them. So I feel really lucky in that I get to spend a lot of time with customers and understanding what they're trying to do and some of the challenges and trends that are affecting their industries. And real estate is, experiences a lot of those challenges that are happening across industries from digital transformation. If we're all in the same room, I'd ask everybody to raise their hand. A good example of this is how many people today actually ordered their morning coffee off of an app, right? Use the Starbucks app to start your routine. That was launched in 2015. And it's almost a cliche now to talk about the Uber effect or the Amazon effect or the Netflix effect and how they've transformed industries. And that's happening across industries. And real estate is no exception. Actually, real estate had some of the earliest innovators in this space. Zillow, Redfin were both founded over a decade ago in 2004. Compass was founded in 2012. Opendoor was founded in 2013. Keller Williams is an innovator within the industry as well. And it's actually not hyperbole to say that real estate really is under siege right now. If you look at venture capital funding overall in the real estate industry, it's exploded over the last several years. It used to be just a few years ago in 2010, about $40 million a year was what venture capital was investing in real estate. In 2017, it's turned into $5 billion of venture capital investment. And all that investment is really focused on how digital technologies are changing and have the potential to change industries. And so what Adi and I want to talk through a little bit today is how digital technologies are impacting real estate, and importantly, what agents and brokerages can do to respond to be competitive in this digital age. So I'm really excited about this. Before getting into learning a little bit about Adi and Keller Williams and how they're responding, if you could go to the next slide, Marilyn, I want to talk about a little bit of trends that we see at DocuSign. So DocuSign, we have the luxury of, we have thousands and actually hundreds of thousands of real estate customers, which is really exciting. And we have the ability to do some research. And one of the research projects that we engaged is we reached out to a lot of our agent customers to learn a little bit more about how technology has impacted their job. And so we did some research. One of the things that we found is that compared to 5 years ago, real estate customers and your clients, 72% of them are more likely to come to you with a specific listing in mind, right? So this is just one example of how digital technologies are changing the very nature of the role of a real estate agent. If you go to the next slide, Marilyn, we'll also find that today's clients, over 51% of them are more likely to have already calculated a listing price. So not only do they already have certain properties in mind when they reach out to you, they also, if they're a seller, are more likely to have a specific listing price for their own property in mind compared to just 5 years ago. Now, these are two great indicators of how technology is really changing the role of an agent in the real estate transaction. And yet, if you go to the next slide, Marilyn, overwhelmingly, clients value and want a realtor at the heart of that transaction. Overwhelmingly, 86% of today's home buyers and sellers, this is data from the National Association of Realtors, prefer to use a real estate agent. So it's not that technology is forcing clients away from agents, it's changed their expectations of the value and services that they want in return from their agents. So if you go to the next slide, Marilyn, at DocuSign, one of the things that we're heavily focused on is around the process of managing the paperwork involved in real estate transactions. And when you look at that, real estate is extraordinarily complex, and everybody on this call knows that. What's involved in a real estate transaction, all the different agreements, from finding the business and doing listing presentations and lead generation and trying to find new clients to serve, all the way through submitting an offer, negotiating bids, all the way ultimately through to closing that transaction. There are dozens, this is just a sampling of it, dozens of agreements, many of them in forms, most of them all heavily regulated to ensure compliance of these transactions. Lots of different people who are involved, stakeholders who are involved across this process. And when you look at this, if you go to the next slide, Marilyn, the process of managing those agreements, of preparing those agreements, of course, of getting those agreements signed. When those agreements get signed, there's usually something that needs to happen, some action needs to happen. Either it triggers another agreement or process downstream, or a document needs to get recorded somewhere, you name it, some action needs to happen. And then ultimately managing those agreements once the transaction is closed and understanding, either for compliance reasons or to provide, agreements back to clients, there's some process of managing those. Every one of those dozens of agreements that's involved in a real estate transaction has some process for preparing, signing, acting on, and managing that agreement. And at DocuSign, we refer to that as a system of agreement. Unfortunately, for most real estate organizations, whether it's agents or the brokerages that they work for, that system of managing agreements is usually some combination of paperwork, manual processing. There's been a lot of investment in specific technologies at discrete parts of that process. But even for folks who've really leaned in heavily into technology and systems, a lot of times they haven't integrated those experiences. And so for the agents who are with us on the call, it's probably really common that you have to re-key in certain information that you already typed in one system, but you have to port it and retype it into another system. What's the result of that? Well, first and foremost, it's wasted time, and it's time that you could be spent doing something else. Secondly, a lot of errors come as a result of that. And we've actually studied this at DocuSign, and we've quantified what the cost to a typical brokerage is for having these patched together, what we refer to as outdated systems of agreement. And first and foremost, for the broker owners who are on the call with us today, a core part of your success is based on your ability to satisfy top and enable top performing agents. And overwhelmingly, 73% of agents consider the quality of a brokerage's technology offering is very important when they're determining which brokerage to associate with. So it's a big reason and driver of an agent's decision of where to bring their business. From a productivity standpoint, compared to outdated systems or disconnected systems versus what we refer at DocuSign to modern systems of agreement, it can actually have a 2x, twice as fast process for preparing and managing those agreements. And when you look at just hard dollar costs in terms of E&O insurance, et cetera, we find that outdated systems of agreement can have at least $1,000 or more higher costs in terms of insurance. So whether it's hard dollar costs or ability to retain and recruit the top performing agents in your area, and also just productivity costs, the cost of outdated systems of agreement is pretty high. So if you go to the next slide, Marilyn, that is what we're focused on at DocuSign. And so a lot of folks know us at DocuSign for e-signature appropriately. We're really proud of the work that we've done in partnership with specifically the real estate industry to really transform the process of getting agreements signed. But DocuSign and our vision is a lot bigger than just electronic signature. So our technology and our innovation is focused on creating capabilities to modernize the entire process of coming to agreement, whether that's signing agreements, but also preparing those agreements, acting on and managing those agreements. And we have a number of products, not just electronic signature, that enable doing that. So a lot of folks are familiar with electronic signature for real estate, but we'll also learn a little bit more from Adi about our transaction management solution, our rooms for real estate offering. That is that secure online digital workspace for managing the transaction end-to-end and all of the approvals associated with that, along with sending those agreements out for signature. We also have electronic notarization capability within our platform. And of course, we have a ton of integrations to a lot of the different systems that brokerages and agents leverage, whether it's ZipLogic and ZipForms or MoxieWorks or Lone Wolf from an accounting standpoint. What's important is not that you just digitize discrete components of your brokerage, but you also integrate those solutions so you're not rekeying information and creating an experience where agents or transaction coordinators waste time and end up resulting in errors because they're rekeying information along the process. So with that kind of context, I just want to set up a little bit around industry trends and what we're focused on at DocuSign. But if you go to the next slide, Marilyn, I'm really excited to have Adi Pavlovich here from Keller Williams. So Adi, maybe before we get going with a couple of questions, can you just give us a quick introduction of yourself? I think a lot of people are familiar with Keller Williams, but what Keller is focused on and specifically your role within the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm a title the Director of Innovation. I've been with the company for about 5 years, which has been a really fun ride because I've been there before we started building our own proprietary technology and through the pivot. And now we're building a lot of software today to service our agents and their consumers. My primary focus is kind of on, as Marilyn mentioned, the fun stuff, the ideation and the incubation of products, as we call it. So I work closely with our designers and our product managers to spend time with agents and just figure out how we can solve some of the problems they're having today and how to make our products better. Yeah, that's pretty much my role.
Fun job. So Adi, given some of the setup on the trends that we see here at DocuSign, can you maybe just start with giving us your impression? What has Keller seen in terms of how clients' expectations of agents and brokers, how has that changed over the last several years?
Yeah, great question. You alluded to it very well in your presentation. It's really two driving factors. One of them is market driven. We're having a lot of venture capital funding enter the space. Back when I started, it was less than $200 million per year going into real estate tech. Today, that number is over $4 billion, right? And so we're seeing a lot of new entrants, innovators trying to bring efficiencies or replace some of the services the industry provides today. And so I think that's kind of putting a lot of, innovation into the fold, as well as consumer driven, right? The first time home buyer is getting older and older. I think the average age now is about 33, 34. And the expectations are shifting because of the just the digital experiences they're sharing with all the other transactional services. And so I think real estate is a little bit behind in that terms, but the future definitely revolves around a digital transaction that we believe the agent is still at the center of, but the technology and the tools that the agents will use are going to evolve and be more efficient, be smarter, and just have an overall better user experience. And I think you're starting to see that not just within the real estate transactional space, but within all the ancillary services and mortgage and insurance and et cetera.
Got it. Can you speak maybe a little bit about that? Because I know one topic that comes up in every real estate conversation that I have and at every industry conference that I attend, iBuying. iBuying is everywhere. You hear it. It is certainly the buzzword of the moment. Can you just give your perspective on how do you see this impacting the industry, and how does this potentially change the agent-client relationship?
Yeah, so I mean, from a macroeconomical perspective, it's an interesting trend, but it's a very niche market, just from all the data that I've seen in terms of having that convenience and transacting within this 24 to 48 hour window with an all cash offer. It definitely does serve some clients, and we're continuing to study that. Trends change. Behaviors change, and so one of the things that we're fortunate here at Keller Williams because of our size is that we actually decided to firsthand understand how that market operates by entering into it ourselves. We're active in I think 2 markets now, primarily Phoenix, and we wanted to test out how would that service behave if it came from a real estate agent. And so we worked with Kenny Klaus is a big agent for us in Phoenix, and we had him test a pilot where, I mean, it's very similar to the guarantee sale model that a lot of agents over the country have been doing for years. But the idea was that he can provide, traditional agent services, or he can also provide an offer to purchase the home within 48 hours. And, the research we've seen is a significant majority will go with the agent. It's really it's a cool way to see how much your home is valued or how much cash you can get for it. That starts that seller journey. So there is some value there. Right now, the data shows us it's pretty niche, but we're studying the behavior, and we're in a very unique case where we can actually put some resources into that and see it firsthand rather than wait and see how the market responds. So we're kind of doing primary research rather than secondary research in that fold.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very similar to what I see as well in engaging with several of our customers and clients within the real estate arena, that there's certainly a lot of buzz at it, but at DocuSign we fundamentally believe that the agent will remain at the center of the transaction going forward. So what about the role of agreements? So from Keller's perspective, can you just talk a little bit about the process of managing agreements and how you guys see that fitting into some of these trends and the different role of the agent going forward?
Yeah, so I'll start at the 1,000-foot level and then dive deep in. When we decided to really kind of put our technology destiny in our own hands and build a lot of proprietary technology ourselves, the idea was, where do you start, right? And there's a lot of in our research, there's 10 to 15 different applications brokers and agents are using at any given time. And so one of the most popular feature requests we get when we do our labs and our focus groups is a password reminder, right, in the early days. And the reason we were getting that is because people were just kept forgetting their password using all these different applications. And so the solution wasn't to build a password reminder. It was to build a platform that can encompass all of those services and integrate with those partners as well. And so that's exactly what we're building with our platform. And then when we looked at our strategy of what do we build or what's the core experience with this within the platform, it's Very easy. It's the transaction. It's the most high intensity touch point with the consumer. It's the most important, crucial element of real estate services, and it's also how our agents make their money. And so we had to nail that experience, and it's the reason there's no easy button for it. And together we're trying to build that is there's just so many things that take place from contracts, state by state, compliance. Then you have the market center administrator, which is the role for over 1,000+ market centers each one has to help facilitate that paperwork, and then also e-signature for the consumer. Meanwhile, and then we have what we call the green sheets, is how post-transaction the agent can get paid through their brokerage. And so there's just a lot of work there. It takes a lot of time and it causes a lot of headaches. And so that was the biggest challenge. That's what we're solving. And I'm excited with our announcement, our partnership, that we can showcase and tease some of the stuff we're doing to show how we're bringing simplicity and giving agents confidence. And if you're a first-time agent, or if you've done it 1,000 times, using software to just make the process easier, create more efficiency, better compliance, and ultimately a better user experience for their clients.
Yeah, no, I think that's especially interesting, that polling question that Marilyn, you shared earlier of folks on this call, right? There was a good diversity of folks of, not too many whose offices weren't digital, but a lot of folks who are, maybe just using electronic signature somewhere, or maybe more along the road of what you described, agents who are using a dozen different applications, but none of them are integrated to the point where the biggest thing they wanted was a password reminder or reset tool, right? And I think a lot of folks, especially, kind of start getting down the road of going digital without necessarily thinking about that end-to-end process of, okay, how am I going to integrate the different components of the transaction, right? And I think that what you guys are doing is really innovative and kind of thinking about that end-to-end process. Can you maybe, I want to hear a little bit more, and maybe you can give a little bit of an overview of what the announcement and actually the press release that Keller Williams shared earlier this morning. But before talking a little bit about that, can you give just a quick overview outside of the agreement process and the transaction process? What are some of the other areas that Keller is looking at innovating around?
Yeah, and so knowing our audience, we have a lot of different sized brokerages and agents, and so I'm hoping that from what you guys get from today is we're trying to also push the envelope and innovate within our industry from within, rather than waiting on external forces to come into our industry and change it. Where we don't really have control or can really protect the best interest of our agents. And so for us, what I'm hoping people take away from this is just kind of see the trend. We don't believe we're the only ones that are going to be doing this. We do believe we're one of the first. And really, this is kind of a sliver, a look into the future transaction and how agents operate with their clients and with their brokerage and with their technology tools. And so the transactions is a big piece of it. We really approach it as a B2B to C problem. So right now, what you're going to see today, and I have some screens that I can share with you guys, is the B2B part of, okay, how are our agents going to use Command, which is kind of our CRM software that allows you to manage your database, to manage your sales pipeline, as we call it, and your opportunities, and then go contract to close without ever having to leave the system. Among that, we also, power the largest agent-to-agent referral network within the same system. We do marketing, business automation, etc. So a lot of the stuff you're already familiar with. If you're running a business, you'll see like, oh wow, they're doing a lot. But we're also, the key takeaway is we're building a platform. So if you think about it, what we're really trying to do is build an operating system. We're trying to build the iPhone. And with the iPhone comes some default apps. It comes with email, text messaging, Safari, right? If you have an iPhone, or Google Chrome if you have Android. But the idea, it comes with these default apps that you need to operate your phone to run your business. But on top of that, there's an app store, there's a marketplace, and we're going to be integrating with more partners to provide critical services, and that's exactly what we're doing with DocuSign today. It's one of the first, one of the biggest we've done, and And one of the most important, to be frank with, because it's right in the center of the transaction, it's pretty critical to everything we do. And we're fortunate to find such a great partner with DocuSign, because what they're building works perfectly with what we're building. And I think this partnership and relationship is the future how most brokerages and transaction services will work together. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping people take away from today, is just seeing the trend, and maybe people out there will do it differently. Maybe they have different needs, but from our perspective, this is kind of the most important way to modernize the industry. What you're not going to see today is the B2C part. I'll kind of tease it. That's still a work in progress for us, and we have more announcements coming later this year. But to see how the agent can work in this ecosystem, and then they can provide that value to their consumers via a mobile app. And now for the first time, the consumer will be able to directly engage with their agent via a real estate search app, but also facilitate the transaction. That's when it gets really exciting, and that's where the true innovation lies. But the hardest problems are in that B2B, and how do you scale that? And that's what we're solving today.
So maybe one question, then let's share some of those screenshots, and you can walk everybody through how Keller thinks about just your model overall and the lead gen model and how that fits into Command. But maybe real quick before doing that, when you guys were evaluating different solutions and you ultimately went with DocuSign for electronic signature along with our Rooms for Real Estate product integrating into Command. Maybe share for other folks and the broker owners who are on this call, what was important to Keller when you guys were evaluating different partners and choosing which partners you want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, to be fully transparent, I think a lot of people feel this was number one is always alignment. When we're looking for a partner, being a brokerage that's providing technology, or franchise that's providing technology to the brokerages and agents is, you want your best interest of your agents at heart of every partnership you sign. And so having alignment and finding a partner that's solving the same problems is really important. And to be honest, it's hard to find. We know there's a lot of technology services out there, but what their motivation is or what their end goal is can be different a lot of times. And so we're always trying to put ourselves in a place where we're making decisions that are best for our agents and our industry. And so alignment was number one. And then obviously, security, privacy, having stability, because we mentioned it's business critical. We really looked for a partner that's solved this problem before, that has been around in the industry and proven to, put security first. We're entering an era where data is king, and every real estate agent's data is their business. We fundamentally believe that, and that's at the heart of a lot of our training education. And so being able to protect that and give agents the comfort and the privacy to operate and run their business, and have the freedom to leave their brokerage if they choose to, though, and take their data with them is a part of our data pledge as well. And so that was something important that we valued as well. And then lastly was just the ability to integrate. It can be very painful if you've ever done microservice API integrations and a lot of custom build, and having something out of the box that we can use and having the language that developers can solve real estate problems with was obviously very crucial. And so we think that the Rooms for Real Estate product and the cloud service, the package that you show, that visual of what you guys are building is super valuable. And I think that's where a lot of transactions are going to head and require all four of those verticals.
Excellent. So I mean, just great advice for folks who maybe aren't quite as far along on their digital journey as you guys are. So maybe let's Adi, if you could maybe walk through for everybody a little bit of Keller's how you guys think about managing from lead to close internally, and then how that translates into Command. Then I've got maybe a couple more questions, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. We'll also then open it up to questions from the crowd. So if you have some questions, please start entering them into the webinar tool. And we'll start answering some audience questions in a few minutes. But Marilyn, do you want to advance to the next slide?
Cool. Yeah. So with everything that starts here, what's really unique, being a brokerage that also develops their own technology, is Keller Williams has always been very proud and very, innovative with its training and education. That's probably what me as a technologist inherited that I've never had the privilege to scale before. Was, there's the MREA book that Gary Keller wrote. We have a publishing department in-house that's writing the second one. And so they're doing constant research, working with top agents in the industry to understand business models. And what we've done here, the reason I wanted to show this is the lead generation model that we use as kind of our true north, as our Bible for, our developers, our designers, our product managers, and also our educators, our support, and the agents all use this language. So when you look, I'm going to show some screenshots of the software. This language is embedded into the software experience. And so the idea is building a common language about how the agents interact with the user face is very unique, especially for real estate. A lot of these words mean something else in other industries, but we decided, hey, this is the business model, this is the lead gen model, and our goal is to provide technology services that allow you to go from number 1 to number 8, as you can see here, without having to leave the application. And by doing so, you'll generate so much data. We'll be able to put an AI layer on top of that and start to do some really cool things with being predictive and being intelligent and providing the agents with more information about their leads, their contacts, the likelihood of their opportunities to close, the likelihood their appointments will close. And so these 3 pillars you see here in the lead gen model, the lead generation, database, sales pipeline, those are those are applications within Command individually, and they all integrate with each other and talk the same language. And so just wanted to highlight that we're not just making it up, right? And it's creating this bridge between how the real estate world works and how technology works. It's been a fun ride for me personally, and seeing, engineers and product managers come outside of the industry and learn it. It's super fascinating. And so if we can go to the next screen, I'll show you a screenshot of our, this is our sales pipeline application. So you'll see there, it's hard to zoom in if you guys zoom in, but this is the dashboard of all of the real estate activity and agents doing within Command, from cultivate to close. And so that, once you identify a lead or contact is going to move, which should be about 10 to 12% of every agent's database, you have to identify that idea and realize whether it's a nurture or qualified. Qualified meaning they're transacting within 90 days, nurture from 3 months to 12 months out. And so in here, we give our users, our agents, the ability to break up their pipeline and kind of move it methodically left to right. And so when we talk about building an operating system, this is the default. Every agent's going to use these 5 phases. It's embedded in our training and education. It's embedded in the software. It's embedded in our language. And so this is to give each agent a snapshot across their listings, buy-sides, leases. We're also adding referrals to this. And then on the right side, if you can see a very small text, it shows potential and probable income. So this is based off of their close rates across each one of these stages. We can tell the agent about 90 days what their income looks like, what their potential income is as if they closed everything. What their probable income is based off of their conversion rates. And we can use AI to understand their conversion rates once they've been using the system for a while. So what's really cool about this is we're giving the agent, as a broker partner, we're looking here and saying, hey, here's what's most likely what your business means to you and how much money you have over the next 90 days based off the number of activity you have. And from there, we can have a conversation about where do we bring in training, education, et cetera. And so if you go to the next slide, so that's the default dashboard for the sales pipeline. This is where we do their stages within each phase. What we learned quickly shadowing and talking to agents is every agent, every team does transactions a little differently. So we created these columns, and these cards represent every single opportunity. Now this is all design and this isn't real information, so keep that in mind. But the idea is you would drag this card from stage to stage, and then from phase to phase, right? And so in active, you can create custom stages as you want to see fit. And those percentages up there show you likelihood of closing, right? And what that means to your bottom line. And then a team functionalities, you'll see you'll have the owner and the assignee, all of your teammates that are touching this opportunity, this card. And as it matures through the pipeline, right? And so if today's goal is to talk about, the future of transaction, it really starts with cultivation and appointment and turning these cards, getting into this active phase, getting them into under contract, right? And so we provided the visual effect in the UI. You're moving left to right, just like in that diagram I showed you, you're moving top down. But in here, we allow for customization because we know that's how agents work. And so if you go to the next view, next slide, I'll show you what an opportunity looks like. So if you click into an opportunity, there's a lot there, right? And what we're going to focus on is, the document part of it and having all of the compliance and all of the documents recorded stored in one place. And so this is what we're building, and this is where the integration with DocuSign comes in. And so right next to that add document button, you'll see Mendoza listing room. This is a room, right? When we talk about rooms for real estate, that's where the integration with the dot loop lives for us. And by clicking that, it will take you to the DocuSign experience where now you can solve that B2C part, right? I talked about B2B, and that's what you're seeing here. This is a product specifically for Keller Williams agents that they get part of being with our brokerage for free. But the idea is now that we've integrated with DocuSign, which is one of our first integrations into Keller Cloud, by clicking into Mendoza listing room, now the rooms for real estate product, and that's where the e-signatures happen as well, is all that information is going to talk to each other. And so you're talking about, saving a lot of time in terms of like redundancy and saving time for the agent to deliver, a secure paperless capability with automated forms and a digital transaction management system. And so all of the forms and all the contracts you upload here in the future will understand that in this example, this is Dennis Mendoza's deal. We have the address, we have all of these fields, so we can auto-populate them for the agent. And that's when he gets really excited. And something that's not, as exciting to most people, but exciting to us in this audience is right underneath that add document page is submit to MCA. This is where the agent can, once all the paperwork is filed, they can submit it to their administrator at their office, at their market center for a review. And then the market center has a side of this where they'll review all of the contracts, make sure it's compliant, and then approve or deny it or request for more information. And then now you're getting into, you can see up there, we have a tab called commissions where the agent can actually manage and see bottom line after all of the splits, what their commission is going to look like after this deal, and do that all without having to leave the platform. And so I wanted to show these screenshots. I asked for permission, and the idea was it's easy to talk about. I wanted to visually show you guys what we're doing, what this looks like. Is this right? I don't know. We're testing it constantly with agents. We're getting better day in and day out. And I imagine future versions will have a lot more features and different changes. But this is how we envision the first step of creating a digital transaction, that's easy to use, that's simple, and that saves the agents a lot of headaches, and they can take that time and value and put it right back into their clients' hands and provide a better experience. And so I think that's the last slide I sent to you, Justin. If you have any questions, or if we want to open it up to the audience, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Yeah, maybe I've got two questions, and then Marilyn, we can go to questions from the audience. So first of all, Adi, thank you. This is incredible, right? And I think hopefully for folks on the call, we often talk about digital transformation and all these technology buzzwords, AI, you name it. And what Adi just showed, what I love about what you just showed, Adi, is that you really made it real, right? AI isn't some buzzword. You have the ability to use artificial intelligence to do predictive modeling on what an agent's commissions and income look like over the next couple of weeks. And I think that that's incredible. You're also in here, what I think is really interesting and where Keller is innovating, you didn't see a lot of DocuSign in there, right? Now, our rooms for real estate products, our electronic signature products are in there. They're powering this in this really easy to use user experience, but that user experience is one that you, Adi, and your team and Keller Williams is designing and controlling what that agent experience looks like, because what sort of experience will work for the agents that are part of your franchise. And so I think it's just a really great way of making real some of these trends that can sound a little abstract, but show how they have the potential for changing real estate, what you guys are doing today. I guess I have maybe one last question before opening it up, Marilyn, to some of the questions that have been submitted. But Adi, can you speak a little bit to just the scale, the number of agents that are going to be relying on this platform, and specifically how you guys are thinking about adoption and deployment? So you can have great technology, but if you haven't really thought about the deployment plan, it kind of all falls flat. So maybe speak a little to the scale and how you're planning the rollout on this.
Yeah, that's a great question. And for all the brokerages out there, they know that pain of adoption is hard. So we have about 165,000 agents, and today, as you see in Command, it's still in its early days, but we have about 60,000 active users. The idea is we're providing training and education, but we're also approaching this with, we're just providing, an option. We still 100% respect our agents' selections with what technology they want to use. We give them the opportunity to tell us what partners they want us to integrate with, which is always a fun conversation. But the idea is really to, hey, if I could provide the default experience powered by training and education, powered by your own franchise and brokerage that will adhere to these data policies and do everything with your best interest in mind at free, maybe that can free up some of your expenses, right? And so the value pitch isn't really hard to make. It's really just, can I operate the way I run my business on your technology today? And that's the challenge we're constantly trying to solve. And so we tell our agents, hey, we want to earn the right for you to use this product, and you tell us when it's ready, but please keep in touch. We're going to be doing trainings and live streams. I think we're doing a live stream every single day on some element of Command, just showcasing and getting people comfortable with it and showing how we're launching new features and making it easier. And so it takes a lot of training and education. I mean, there's no magic pill for it. I think we just continue to make the products better, continue to shout down the microphone, but continue to provide training and education for those first timers so they can feel comfortable, importing their database into here and setting up some business automation and doing their first transaction here. It's scary. There's a huge switching cost, switching systems. Trust me, we did the research, and it's not easy and it's not cheap, but in the long run, we hope that it can, minimize their expenses, and then they can take that money and put it back into their business.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I know we've got a few minutes left. So Marilyn, have there been some questions from the audience that
there has been, actually, yes. Yep.
Great.
So the first one is, can you, and this is probably for you, Justin, or either of you, can you explain more about e-notary service?
Yeah, absolutely. So electronic notarization is something that, or digital notarization or remote notarization, there are lots of kind of different terms that are out there, but it is an evolving space from a legal acceptance standpoint. So I believe at last count, there were, I believe, 26 or 27 states across the United States who have approved e-notary as a legal way of having documents notarized. And so DocuSign, we have this capability within the platform that enables people to have electronic versions of notarization. So you don't need to paper out the process. The benefit of that is that obviously if you have to notarize something, that is a break in your process. And even like what Adi was just sharing, the reason they're able to deliver this terrific experience at Keller Williams is they're keeping this entire process digital end to end. And if you have to break somewhere in that process to paper some document out, let's say because it requires notarization, well, that means something needs to get printed out, something needs to get notarized and scanned and re-uploaded, and it's just a break, or what we would refer to as a legacy component of your system of agreement. And so we expect at DocuSign more and more states across the country to approve electronic notarization laws and accept that, and we continue to build into our platform the capability to do that. So that's available today. I don't have handy, I know that it's up on DocuSign's website, the number of states that we support across the United States today.
That's awesome. And is there, on that same page, does it show you which states now take e-notary? That would be a good resource we can share with everyone.
Yes, I believe we do have a listing of states where it's legal. And there's a number of legislatures where this is in progress and getting discussed right now as well. Gotcha.
One of the things, Justin, that you mentioned, or actually we asked in the question, was about integration, where a good number of the audience had a variety of tools that they liked, but they didn't talk to one another. And so one person's asking specifically about, does Rooms for Real Estate work with Boomtown? So it'd be great for you to answer that, but also maybe to help people understand what other types of things that you do integrate with to make their lives easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we are proud of at DocuSign, we refer to the suite of technologies that we have is the DocuSign Agreement Cloud. And so, of course, that includes applications like electronic signature, or Rooms for Real Estate, or e-notary. But another major component of our Agreement Cloud is all of our integrations. We actually have more than 350 pre-built integrations across the platform. I am actually, you put me on the spot, and I'm not 100% sure on Boomtown, but I can check with our product team to see if that is one that we support. In the case that we do not have a pre-built integration on that, one of the other things that we pride ourselves on at DocuSign is we have open APIs. And what that means, I know that we've got a lot of agents who may not be technology developers here, but an API stands for an application programming interface. And what essentially that means is, hey, do we open up our software so that you can integrate it with some other software really easily? And we provide developers recipes, and just think of that as easy ways to connect one system to DocuSign's platform and vice versa. So we can follow up, Marilyn, on whether Boomtown is one of those pre-built integrations for our product. And in the case that it's not, we have open APIs that make it really easy for a developer to stitch into it.
Gotcha. So we know who it is. I won't say your name, but we will happy to get back to her to let her know the answer to that specific question. That's awesome. Another question we got was, and we've actually done a whole webinar on this topic, so I could probably answer this one, but I'll let you do. How secure is DocuSign / the digital transaction rooms for sending forms with bank account numbers, social security numbers, and other personal information?
Yeah, very short answer, very secure. I think the best answer to this, to be perfectly honest, is if you look at DocuSign's client base. So while real estate is a very important industry to us, financial services and the insurance industry globally is another very important strategic customer base for us. And actually, 12 of the top 15 largest financial services companies in the world trust DocuSign. So I won't get into all the certifications and security acronyms that DocuSign has and supports as part of our DocuSign Trust Network. I think really the best way of gauging that is the largest banks in the world trust DocuSign for managing their transactions.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good check mark right there. And when we did the webinar, it was a couple of years ago now, but there was, and if you do this today, if you even go to the the app stores today, you'll see lots of people that claim to have digital transaction management / e-signature platforms. And only word of advice I would give to everyone is to be really careful, because a lot of them are not following the same types of protocols that DocuSign is. And frankly, some of our other strong organizations in our industry too. So be careful to not, try to get a free download on something, because it really could get you in a lot of trouble, especially with the things you mentioned here with bank account numbers, social security numbers, et cetera, et cetera. There was one that we saw when we did the webinar a couple of years ago, where people could literally change the selling price of the home after the document was signed. So that's a little scary. We don't want to see anybody go near those kinds of things. So be careful. Definitely use trusted companies like DocuSign. One question, this is for you, Adi. What you just showed is kind of spectacular. I mean, it's a really interesting way for basically an agent to become a business owner and a business leader and truly manage their business much more effectively than they have in the past. But I know when we talk to many brokers, they complain, not about your particular system, but in general about the fact that while a lot of these tools are very well developed and very well heeled and really can help people be successful, it's very difficult to get adoption and engagement with them. So can you talk to us a little bit about what your group is doing or what the company is doing to help people understand the power and the benefit of what you built? Because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we're in it for the long haul, right? So we know it's going to take some time to earn the trust of people out there that are, running their business on something else and switching over. It's like I mentioned, it's painful. And so, yeah, I mean, really, it's continuing to show momentum. I think is the easiest way, and the way I like to think about it is it's constantly changing. It's changing for the better, but most importantly, it's changing because of the feedback we're getting from our agents. We're not changing it due to business rules. We're not changing the product because we think it should work X. Through labs, we have a lot of outlets for agents to give us feedback, to tell us why they don't like to use it, what we can solve. And creating that bridge of communication from agents to product managers and developers is something we take really seriously. And we tell agents all the time, it's, we're not building technology for you, we're building it with you. And so, that I think having that open participation like that is lowers that barrier of entry, and just asking them to trust us and to try it out, and if they're not ready, come back. Because a lot of any technology company struggles with is, hey, come try my product. Oh, you don't like it, we'll never see you again. And so we're very cognizant of that, and we want to avoid that by saying, hey, to check it out whenever you get a chance. Here's some cool stuff you can do on it today. If you want to just import a little bit of your database and use some of these services to see if you like it or not, we recommend that, rather than cut everything off, migrate everything over, and cross your fingers and hope for good luck. Some people do that, but we try to ease them into it. And I think that's the right approach in terms of training and education and getting people comfortable with something new, right? This is new. This is different, and different's hard. And so telling people it's okay, it's different, and you can kind of ease into it, I think goes a long way.
Gotcha. And with the people that there's always, in any brokerage, there's always the folks that are frankly, the director of innovation's dream, right? The people that are like, let me try it, it's brand new, let me see what it looks like, it looks awesome. Like, are they giving you the kind of feedback that you're hoping for? Are they, giving you that, like, this thing is really doing what we had all envisioned it would do, and now we just got to figure out a way to help everyone understand that? Yeah,
there's two things, and then this is why we try to get, we don't wait till the features are perfect. We kind of send them out there like as MVPs, minimal viable products, to test them out. And it's really helpful to get that feedback early, because I tell you what, agents are the most creative individuals in the world, right? And so sometimes we'll create a product that's intended to do X, and agents will use it to do Y. And then we would say, okay, that's interesting. Why do you want to do that? And so they'll explain it to us. And so we have a feedback forum. So every page in Command will have a feedback button where they can provide us with feedback of likes, dislikes. And then we also created a ideas portal. It's only for KW agents, but it's ideas.kw.com, where agents post their favorite feature ideas, and other agents will upvote it, downvote it. And so that kind of lets us see what the users are demanding, right? And that helps us prioritize what feature do we build next. And so it's not just innovative, the technology we're building, but I think the approach we're taking side by side with agents and letting them have access to early stuff really opens up our eyes. And the product, if I told you that the vision for Command is exactly what it is today, I'd be lying, right? We got some things right, we got some things wrong, and we learned along the way, and we continue to learn. And so that evolution, I think, is really important, because the market dynamics that I mentioned and the consumer behavior shifts are happening fast. And so we have to figure out, how do we get there as soon as possible, and then to provide an experience that's the future is going to demand.
Yeah, I applaud your effort in that. It's not easy to do that, and it's great to hear how well connected the technology development is with the actual practitioner, because they are the ones that understand what's going on. The rest of us like to think we do, but they really are the ones that can drive the industry. So that's awesome. Okay, I'll just open it up. Is there anybody that has any other questions? We're just at the top of the hour now. I think we've answered the ones that we've seen here. And if not, I think we can close this out today. If we can go to that, yeah, if you see where, if any of you need information on DocuSign, you see that, go to sales@DocuSign, or there's the phone number, or go to the DocuSign.com/real estate section if you'd just like to learn more. We also will be sending all of you out a note with the recording of today, so feel free to share that with your colleagues and friends, along with some other information. So if there's anything else that you need, if anything you need from RETechnology, you can reach out to me directly at Marilyn, MARILYN, at RETechnology. But if you have any information for DocuSign, just reach out to sales@DocuSign and you'll be good to go. So thanks to everyone. I hope everyone's having an amazing summer, and that this whole effort today is going to help you be a lot more productive and a lot more seamless in your operations. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.